Hey, good morning. Welcome back to Tactics Talk. On this episode, we have a replay analysis for Vulcan Spectre. You can see that I've got his information called up right here. Now, when I get a new request for a replay analysis, so we're going to go in depth into one player's play in this particular game, I usually take a look at the stats. And the reason is obviously not to stat shame. The reason is not to call them names or anything ridiculous like that. It's just to kind of see where they are, see how the stats sort of stack up, and see if that maybe informs a little bit of the replay analysis. So we'll get to the replay. He's in his defender here on some map, which will remain undefined until until I figure it out. If we take a look at the stats right here, you can see that Vulcan is a relatively new player. Now, he may have been around for a while. Looks like it was created in 2017. All right, so he's new and new, right? Usually I try to divorce the number of battles from when the account was created. So, relatively new player, 5,000 battles, 47% plus win rate right there. If we dig down here, we got a couple things. I think the biggest one here, Vulcan, that really just jumps out at me from the beginning is your survival rate is really low at 17.92. This means you're dying a lot, obviously. It typically means you're not lasting into the end stages of a battle and not potentially learning what you need to be doing mid to late game. So that is something you want to work on. Now, it's not a case of Guido said, I need to survive, so I go to the corner and I hide out and then I survive longer and everything will be better. Not exactly. The decisions and the things you do, the way you react to the flow of the battle has to start getting better so that you can start surviving longer, so you can start doing more damage, so you can have more of an effect at the end of the battle. The mid to end phase are where most battles are won, right? A raffle stomp that starts at the very beginning and just cascades quickly. Obviously, the mid to late game comes pretty quick in that case, but I'm talking about that 30 to 40, 50%, depending on your skill level, game where what you do has a large impact, not the complete impact, a large impact on if a game is won or lost. There's some good examples in this replay of that, and we'll go over that. You do win, and it is a good game, but we're going to talk about some things in there that kind of apply to this survival rate and lasting into the mid to late game, and decisions you make during that time period. The destruction ratio and armor use, not armor use, sorry, the damage ratio and destruction ratio, you want those to be at least 1. That's a spitball number. I'm just pulling that out of the air and chucking it. But a 1 is a good place to start. You'd love it to be higher. Everyone would want that number to be higher. Why do I say that? Because the damage ratio and destruction ratio being 1 means you're giving as good as you take, as a general rule. Okay, as a general rule. So you want to do that. How do you do that? You do more damage. So we get over to the damage. We're looking at damage caused 428, which is relatively low. So we definitely need to bring the damage up. For a new player that's running a low win rate, low-ish at 47, it's not terrible, right? You're near the average. But for a player that's new, that's running a relatively low damage rate, that has a relatively low win rate, it's pretty easy to go, you got to do more damage. I mean, that is basically the answer, all right? People will translate that to get good, blah, blah, blah. That's not the point of looking at the stats. The fact is that you've got to do more damage to get better at this point in your career, all right, per game. Now, 428 is not as low as you might think because he's averaging most of his battles in Tier 5 and 6, but it's still low even for Tier 5 and 6. So you definitely want to start working on getting more damage. What does that translate to? All right, that's fine. You can always say do more damage, blah, blah, blah. It means take more shots. What does that mean? It means create more shots. It means be looking for more shots. It means understanding where you are on the map, where the shots are that are offered to you, and working to get those shots. All of that added together equals another shot a game, another 2 shots a game, another 3 shots a game, depending on the tier and the tank and all that good stuff, so that you see that damage caused start to increase. Now, I'm looking at your overalls. I didn't take a look at your recents. I did see your card on the forum. By the way, Vulcan Spectre is a regular on the forum, at least right now, for a new player, so he's active in there, and that's where I first saw this replay, where he said, hey, here's a good replay, and then eventually he sent this to me in-game via the forum messaging. So that's the reason I'm doing this. If a player asks me specifically to review a replay, then we'll do this kind of thing. So that's how we got to here. All right, taking a look at the rest of it, there's not a whole lot to see. Where is the experience per battle? I can't find it. I'm sure it's here somewhere staring me in the face. Come on, Guido, where is it? There it is. So 304. I'm going to need my glasses for this one, folks. What do we got? 304. All right, that's extremely low. Extremely low. So that tells me that you're not doing a lot of the things that it takes to win a game. The experience number it does a pretty nice job actually of capturing a general overall picture of how effective you are in a game. It really does. And I'm not sure if you're running premium or what the case may be, but it basically goes off base anyway, I believe. But in any event, 304 is extremely low. So we're going to take a look at your replay, take a look at some of the things you're doing, and see if we can kind of correlate these to some of these numbers right here, and maybe give you some help as we take a look at what is actually a pretty darn good game. But like all good games, there's always something to learn. Well, the map is Siegfried Line. There you go. I finally remembered it. So we'll grab our coffee. Hope you guys are enjoying your morning. And here goes Vulcan Spectre from Clan TCM on Siegfried Line. And we are actually fighting. We'll give you a look at what he's doing with his turret. We're actually fighting an assault map. I appreciated that. Not everybody has their assault and encounter on. I do. Why? Because I think it makes you a better player overall. Gives you a better idea of the maps. Lets you understand different angles of maps. So mid to late game, you have a better idea of what to do. You're more familiar with maps from different angles. I think it helps you makes you a better player. Helps make you a better player. Okay, so let's just start right here with approach mechanics into the fight. We spawn into the north and we come down here. It looks like you want to go to the town, which I agree with. That's where I would go with this defender. It is fairly light on the artillery on the other side. You could go up here and help with this push because you got a lot of armor and would expect to bounce a decent amount of shells, but you would take a few arty shots. Now, I mentioned this here because what I'm going to see in general on this replay, because I've looked at it once, is that you do not react to what your team is doing very well. Your team in a couple cases makes some moves where this top tier defender would have been really nice if it had got in there and helped them out. This was probably the first case. This was the higher risk idea of piling over with a Scorpion GT20. I think there's a prototype in there somewhere. Yeah, your prototype is there. One of your other good tier 9 tanks. Sorry, tier 8 tanks. And they're going to make a pretty hard push into what is a relatively lightly defended sniper's nest over here. And they do a pretty good job of cleaning up. And had you gone with them, again, high risk, you might have had a pretty good day sweeping up this northern part of the enemy team. So that was maybe the first opportunity. Again, high risk, but I want you to consider it because it is a feature or a case of paying attention to what your team is doing and then reacting to that as well as the enemy. Vice just going, I'm going to defender, I'm going to town. That's all there is to it. Now, one thing you did is you came up over here, and I think you were looking to spot, but be careful about just offering sides of tanks or offering your tank for a shot when you have no real capability or reasonable expectation of returning that shot. No depression on this tank, or not very much. You're sideways with your hull. You're looking there going, oh, I'm going to spot. Well, what if you took a hit and weren't able to return it? What good was that? Okay? All right. So we're headed on into town with our defender. The other thing I will note, which I can't help you with, is you are rolling with a 260, at least 200 plus, sometimes up to 260 ping. That's kind of rough. You do a pretty decent job. I noticed the ratchet kind of action of the replay right there. So I think you reacted that pretty well. I think you've adjusted it pretty well. I'm not saying that is a limitation on being a good player. Lots of players have 100, 200 pings and are really good. There's probably several that are better than me. So that's a hardware thing or a connection thing or whatever. So I just mention it because it is a limitation. Your ping is relatively bad, not terrible. So that will cause some issues with your gameplay. Okay, so now we're going to move into the town here. And this is an interesting sequence. We see the Oho, we take a shot, and we get pinned. Now, the reason you got pinned is you kicked your rear end to the right as you shifted over to get into cover. If you'd have kept a nice angle on him and just driven forward, knowing that there's a little bit of cover there as well for the weak spot, you might not have over angled and got pinned. I did it in slow-mo. You got hit right about there, and it ends up pinning you. So small thing as far as maneuvering the tank. So now we've got the town. Fair enough. That north push is doing a pretty decent job, and it got them very busy. So now we have an opportunity potentially in town. From here, you can do one of two things. You could flow over this way and help them clean up this north part. That's reacting to what your team is doing. Your team has taken advantage over here, but if the enemy team is able to react without anybody pushing them in the middle, then they may have a pretty good chance of cleaning out your guys there and now give you a disadvantage. So flow along this outside edge. Looks like there was a KV3. The bulk of their guys are here, and then you've got a chunk of them here. So if we count noses, we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 for the dead, 13 for the artillery. That's only 1 or 2 guys we don't know. Now some of these are older spots, but that's a pretty good idea of where everybody is. You have a decent idea where everybody is, and you probably could have come up here and eaten these guys alive. But you're going to choose to fight here in the town, which is fine. It's another option. You kind of got the Oho pinned here. He bops the 1375. You come in here, and I don't know if you know this, but you had a shot right there. So if you just come in here and take a look at old Oho right there, and a pretty decent shot into his lower hole, and a pretty good amount of cover because I can't even see his gun. His gun's behind that. You can see him. He might be able to see the right corner up here of your tank, but he probably doesn't have a shot at your lower plate, and that's a really nice shot right there unless you can thread it through this little, I don't even think you can get through right there through the columns. But we don't really investigate it and we don't really notice it, and that is one of those things about creating shots and recognizing shots, which increases the number of shots you take, which increases the amount of damage that you do. It seems like a little thing because you're like, I'll just drive over here where this KV3 is because I know I can take on a KV3. You can do that, and you're going to do a nice job with this KV3. Put a shot into him right there. But you left the Oho, and the Oho and all his buddies are kind of the power right now of this team. Your north push is doing a decent job cleaning this up, and you've got all kinds of dudes stuck down here, and just a couple around the edge. I didn't notice yet. Three T-29s all in town there. But they're going to get a little bit pressed by the power that's right there if you don't get in there and start helping them. And we're futzing around with this KV3. So we'll watch this takedown. You do a nice job with this. Going to back out. Good acknowledgement of tracking guys, getting right up under his front wheel. Sprocket. Waiting for the reload. No sense backing out and taking a hit. Also, he's running around with the stock gun, so that's going to be a huge advantage on your part. Put a little shot into him there. A couple kind of unlucky low rolls on that guy, a 424 and a 410, otherwise he'd be gone. If you got anywhere near your 440, unknown why he just comes at you. Good job not going after the mantlet, and you let him, I don't know if you were actually going after the mantlet, to be quite honest, but you do get into the left side of his turret. I like this 1375 is sort of following you around, looking to pick up scraps from the big kid. So now we'll come over here, and this may have been your intention on the Oho, is to come over here and create a crossfire. So good. We have a crossfire. This was a rushed shot. I think you basically had a really nice aim shot right there. Another example of shots that I create or take. If I take rush shots when I didn't need to, I can often lose the damage that I may have got. You're looking for the Panther, I think, because he's lighter than the Oho. You see the Su-152, and I thought that was a good reaction of shot choice right there. You had a better shot on the 152. You took it. The Oho is pinned down, so let him sit there for a minute. Back out and take that shot. Oh, come on, man. Oh, see, now there was another example of a shot that you could have had. Be careful of sitting on corners like this with TDs that have HE, where they can, I can't zoom out quite enough to make this happen, but he might be able to see just the edge of your turret. If you look at that, see that right there? You think you're covered, but you're not. He can see the edge of your turret. Your gun line can't see him. You think, I'm covered up. Nope. You might just plop some HE into the side of your turret right there. And then coming out early, I probably wouldn't do that against tanks like the Su-152. Now he bounces. Looks like he's running AP in that case. Or he doesn't have the derp gun. I didn't really see what the gun was. But just be careful about that, leaving little pieces of your tank exposed. All right, now this was the critical phase for me right here. When we looked at, or when I saw your forum post, and then to some extent your message to me, you said, hey, here's a game, can you take a look at it? You know, had a 1v4 at the end. And, you know, had a great game, did a good job. And immediately when I hear that somebody has a 1v4, my question is, how did you get to 1v4? A lot of stuff happened. Everything from the point where you hit battle, and really your setup matters too on the tank. But everything from your setup to the hitting battle, your initial positioning, all your decisions, your shots you take, the shots you don't take, the damage you take, the HP trades you make, blah, blah, blah. When you get to that 1v4, how did all that happen, and could it have been better? And this is probably one of the biggest phases right here, because we really get bogged down goofing around with this T-29 here. So we got the T-29 and his buddy. I think the Panthers moved over there. So they're both kind of hanging out right there. They're actually, and I don't know if you thought they were in the courtyard here, but they're actually on the south side of those buildings. So you do have some protection from them. There are some holes there where they can shoot across. But this is the fight right here now. Get over here and help. See your team? These guys are taking on the bulk of their tanks. And it's kind of the same idea as when you went and messed around with the KV-3. We're sort of messing around with guys who are more or less out of the fight for the moment. Get in here and help your team take down these guys that are now pushing into them and basically beating them down. There goes your T-29. Trying to get a shot. I mean, this is just threading a needle with a defender right here is very difficult. So we're kind of back and forth, a little bit nervous, not sure what to do. Sort of drive in. Okay, I'll go look at the Panther some more. Okay, well, yeah, maybe I'll get a shot on him. Okay, there we go. And okay, we got that shot, and we back out. The shots they're that way. Go forward and right. Your team is dying over there. This Panther is dead. The T-44 will take care of him. Don't worry about it. There you go. Holy cow. Let's just see how much time went as I was just talking about it. So analyzing what's actually happening in the battle. Now we got the OHO. There we go. This OHO is just... he's mad. He cannot be hit by you or damaged. So now the OHO is just pushed in. And look at them. They've completely cleaned up all your buddies down there. And what did we do? We took a shot on a Panther that was probably going to die anyway. In any event, he wasn't really in the fight. And now we're pushing dead tanks around and sort of just sitting around. It's even. Uh-oh, there's a lot less than even. See what's happened? Those guys that were the main focus of what should have been the main focus of your mid-game play have gone down there together and gobbled up the rest of your team's hit points and have left you arguably in pretty good shape, but against 4 different tanks. So let's see what happens right here. E-25s are around. Now you're spotted. Now they know where you are. I mean, they had the general idea anyway because you were fighting in the middle of the city. We're going to drive right in here. Now, when you are end-game positioning and trying to take on multiple tanks, one of the last things you want to do is drive into the middle of them. So you already know the E-25 has gone to the side. The Scorpion, I'm surprised. That blows my mind because this E-25 lives. I didn't notice that the first time I looked at it. This Scorpion somehow loses all his hit points to the E-25. Anyway, you're going to go in between these guys, having a bit of difficulty with the hulks of tanks, and that may be a bit of talking to your ping issues. Then we drive up, again, maybe ping issues. We drive up on rubble. One thing I will say mechanics-wise for your driving is you're very zoomed in when you drive. When I'm trying to reposition, I'm going to be zoomed out a bit so I can do this. Look around at what's going on. Maybe I see a tree down. Maybe I see a hulk move back here. Maybe I physically see the guy zing by. Or I just simply don't drive up on rubble and mess up my gun depression right there. We back out, look for a shot. The OHO backs in there, and now we're trapped. We're going to back up, sort of look around, continue to bump into these. And so what I see here is, and I see this a lot from new players and guys that are learning, is a lot of indecision, not really sure where to go or what to do. And it's all defensive reaction. We're just going to, I guess we're trying to hide in amongst the hulks right here and make this as difficult as possible. But you have to know that the other ones are going to do that. They're behind you. So you really didn't have a lot of time to sit there. Unless they were already there trapping you, you just didn't have any time to sit there. You take 2 hits. The Carnarvon actually shoots really fast, so he drops you down pretty quickly by hitting you twice for over 500. The OHO gets killed, and the Carnarvon makes a mistake. He just piles in here. I don't really know why. He may think that he doesn't, or you don't have a shot based on the Hulk right there. That was a big mistake on his part, and then he goes down. And we're sitting at 150-something hit points, which is it 150, or are we a little bit more than that? Again, I'm going to have to go to the glasses, folks. Going to have to go to the glasses. 156, which I believe is with a high roll, one-shotable by the E-25, and definitely for the 34-3. We'll see if the 34-3 fires AP or heat. Now we're going to drive in here. And I like this aggression at the end. You might as well go look for these guys. Try to surprise them on where you are as opposed to hide in a corner. Come this way looking for them. Got 4 kills. 3,698 damage. We get spotted. There's the E-25. Now this was interesting because I may have gone right at the E25 and force him to either come at me face to face or turn around and run away and maybe catch him. But we actually go this way and we sort of catch him out because he follows us, which means to me that he knows the 34-3 is somewhere nearby and he's looking to sandwich you. My guess is the 34-3 isn't very far away from his last spot. With the E25 coming right at me, I can sort of read his mind at that point, and he's thinking, all right, we got him because we're going to have guys on each side. So that's why a lot of times when I see one guy, I'll go right at them so that I'm not setting up and running away from them and setting up the sandwich when I'm fighting two guys. So we're going to come back here. We'll kind of sit here like this. We back out. And look what we've done. We've get him side. There was no reason to back straight out. We could have actually shifted our angle a little bit and come out sideways a little bit further back. And I think we'd add a better armor profile to that guy. So he gets a piece of us. This is really interesting. He tries to run away. You auto-aim him and sneak a shot into him. So nicely done. This one surprised me too. I don't think I'd have gone that way. I'd have assumed the 34-3 was over here somewhere. I think I would have gone straight across towards this, or potentially just spun in place and headed back that way. Or even, since I just killed him there, run that way, away from where I think the 34-3 is going. This was about the last direction I would have gone. We're kind of all right where, oh, and we get so lucky. He just misses. That is the derpiness of a 34-3 gun. It's got that great big 122 on it. And we sneak a shot. This guy's not, oh, he was reloaded. Never mind. But we bounce it. Holy cow. And he was shooting heat, so I'm not sure. I didn't slow it down. Maybe he got into the tracks, but wherever he hit, he ended up bouncing. And 6 kills for a top gun. Nicely done, man. 4,156 damage, 2,340. So I said we kind of call back to the stats that you have there, and it was a good game. You did a nice job, but hopefully I covered some of the things that I was talking about creating shots, reacting to the flow of the battle, and trying to help your teammates a little bit more, especially in several cases that I mentioned where I think you needed to go to a different place on the map and get the defender's gun in the game. In the mid to late game, when you are top tier, whatever the tank really, but especially in a defender, when you're top tier and have that many hit points, it's time to start using the armor and the hit points as a little bit of your resource, as opposed to simply always trying to not take any damage, which I know is a bit diametrically opposed to Guido's suggestion earlier about saving your hit points for the end game, but it's a resource that you're going to spend at the appropriate time. So that mid to late game, when you needed to get in there with your top tier tank and your hit points and your armor, you sort of held back a little bit. And frankly, you created the 1v4 at the end that you then had to survive. So good job surviving it. But what you have to realize is all of the decisions that you made got you to that point. All of the decisions the other 14 guys made got you to that point. All the decisions the other 15 guys on the other team got you to that point. But you can only control yours, right? So if you look at your gameplay and say, man, I think I could have preserved a few of my friends' hit points by getting in there and helping them at that critical phase, it may not have been a 1v4 at the end. It may have been something a little bit more manageable. As it was, you got through it. Good job. All right, man. I hope some of that helps. I hope that helps some of the other new players right there. We're getting into a little bit of the esoteric kind of side of Wargaming's game, World of Tanks, the more strategic side, the thinking side, the side that actually decides those 30 to 40. I say up to 50, but most people would say 30 to 40% of games where your actions more directly impact the win or the loss. I think anyone would say that at the end of this game, his actions and what he did, the RNG he had, certainly determined at least the very end game of this game. At the 1v4 point, he was the only guy left. But I always ask, what if I could have done something to not be 1v4? Sometimes the answer is probably not. I would say theoretically the answer is always yes, but we're talking about the real world where it's probably not. But in this case, you definitely had several places where you could have helped out your team a little bit more, made a little bit better decision making, and maybe come to that end game not 1v4. All right, man. I do appreciate you sending that in. I hope this helps. I hope this helps everybody else. I appreciate the support of the channel. If you'd like to do so or give more support other than just watching the videos, which I do appreciate, You can find that stuff down in the details. Thanks, and we will see you.